Internet! Welcome back to Mutton Chup Gaming. I'm the Mutton Chup Gamer, and today is the inaugural Choppy Awards! So, how this is gonna work is that I'm gonna pick 5 different topics. Now, I'm open to taking away some of those topics in the future. I'm open to adding new topics in the future. But for now, I'm just starting with these 5 different categories. And in each category, the best will win the Choice Chop Award, while the worst will earn the Chump Chop Award. So, without any further ado, unfunny sexy voice, get this party started!
Publishers. Publishers, like them or not, are a major part of the video games industry. The developer studios make the games, and while the industry is changing with self-publishing and indie games becoming much larger, the biggest games are still dictated by whether or not a major company will work to get the game on discs and digital storefronts. And for the plethora of good games they've published, both first and second party, and putting player enjoyment above all else, the Choice Chop for Best Publisher of 2014 goes to Nintendo. You may argue that I'm biased, and maybe I am, but are you really going to argue with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Bayonetta 2, Mario Kart 8, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Hyrule Warriors, Kirby Triple Deluxe, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Super Smash Bros.? Yeah, I thought not. Now, the worst of the year is here, not just for releasing a messy game at launch, but for outwardly treating customers with contempt. And while this publisher released some good games over the year, they also released Assassin's Creed Unity. First, Ubisoft told us it would be too difficult to animate a female character within the time limits they were given. Oh wow, they were actually right. Assuming that it actually would be difficult, which according to some developers it wouldn't be too hard, no one was forcing Ubisoft to release a new Assassin's Creed game every year. They could have taken the time they needed to make it perfect. Then, they tried convincing tech enthusiasts that 30 frames per second was far superior than 60 frames per second. Then they held a review embargo for 12 hours after the game's launch. They knew Unity would be bad as soon as it was released. And though it may have been patched, those memes on the internet soil the experience from the very beginning. And to top it all off, a few days after I already recorded this script, it turns out that if you accept the free game Ubisoft was giving you to apologize because you bought a season pass for all the DLC, you are legally barred from being involved in any lawsuit against Ubisoft because of how terrible and broken this game was at launch. And I'm not even going to touch on the Watch Dogs watered down PC port incident. So, Ubisoft earns the Chump Chop for Worst Publisher of 2014, even lower than EA. And that's saying something, because if Unity had been good, EA would have earned the award simply for the misfortune of them being EA. Licensed games. Licensed video games are something that many say are bad for the industry because kids and parents buy the games only recognizing the name and then it turns out to be terrible. Too many of these and people will just think video games are bad as a whole. I, however, consider them an important part of the industry because a good licensed game can introduce people into the world of gaming. In fact, there were quite a few good licensed games this year. Shadows of Mordor and Alien Isolation are the 2 most recent ones, and though I haven't played them, they do look really good. However, the winner of the Choice Chop for Best Licensed Game of 2014 has to go to South Park: The Stick of Truth. Not only because it's Paper Mario for adults, not only because it's a really good JRPG, not only because of the humor, but because it restored my faith in licensed video games under the license of an animated adult primetime show. If you remember my critique of Family Guy Back to the Multiverse, you can see why I lost that faith earlier. Now, finding a bad licensed game can't be too hard at all. I could talk about LEGO Marvel Superheroes on 3DS that I considered a lesson to my niece that she shouldn't trust a video game just because it has a familiar name on the cover. But for me, I have to go for broke. And by go for broke, I mean a broken game. Sonic Boom. But Sonic isn't a licensed game. Sonic is a video game character through and through, you cry. True. But the Sonic Boom TV show premiered before the games came out. And I guess that kind of technically makes it licensed in my book. Congrats, Sonic Boom! You somehow earned the Chump Chop for Worst Licensed Game of 2014. Indie Games. This category should come as no real surprise, considering that indie games have been huge ever since Minecraft took the world by storm. The ability for a small dev studio to make a game within their budgets and create without a publisher ordering them how to do things can allow for some really creative pieces of art. Two indie games stuck out to me this year: Shovel Knight by Yacht Club Games and The Binding of Isaac by Nicalis and Edmund McMillan, the guy who made the first game. Both games are very fun and both games are worth your time and money. However, only one can win this award. I'm sorry, McMillan, but I have to give the Choice Chop for Best Indie Game of 2014 to Shovel Knight. As for the worst, I could easily go on Steam Greenlight and pick any of them at random, but as far as recent memory can tell, only one company went as far as to declare war on a gaming personality that I happen to enjoy following. One game that isn't just bad in and of itself, but its devs openly mock people trying to critique it and even put a strike on Jim Sterling's YouTube account when he wouldn't stop telling people how bad it was. Yes, the Slaughtering Grounds gets the Chump Chop for Worst Indie Game of 2014. Will I get a strike on my account from the devs for giving this award to them? Maybe. But hey guys, you got an award! I doubt you'll get any more than that. Console Wars. And thus we begin a flame war in the comments section. This category doesn't just take into account which console I would want to buy the most if I didn't already have it, but it also accounts for the improvements over the year as well. Also, I'm not including games and software, just the consoles, how they're marketed, and how they're sold. Since you all know I love Nintendo, you might expect me to automatically pick the Wii U, but I actually wouldn't. Yes, it got a price drop, but it was only $50 compared to what the Xbox One did. The Xbox One dropped something that people didn't exactly want, the new Kinect, let the price drop $100 to match their competitor, and they have made bundle after bundle, as well as many holiday sales this season to entice people to buy it. Personally, I still don't want one because the exclusives don't appeal to me, and Microsoft still hasn't gotten my trust back after E3 2013. But I recognize that Microsoft has done a lot of work to make the Xbox One appealing over the year. And it's that effort that let them outsell the PS4 for 1 month this year. So, even though I personally don't want one, I have to give the Xbox One the Choice Chop for Best Marketed Console of 2014. This leaves whoever did the lowest, and honestly, that's a difficult decision to make since I'm only considering the big three here. Yeah, you're not even gonna be considered here, Ouya. Nintendo has made a large number of bundles with games that people want, and Sony has made a bundle where if you get the PS4, you can get your choice of one of 4 games for free, which is a revolutionary and wonderful idea. However, there is one major difference. The Wii U had Black Friday sales. The PlayStation 4 did not. Yes, they had a sale on it later, but by that point, Black Friday was over and the damage was done. It was one little thing that pulled the Wii U ahead, even though it's the console I wanted most, and it's the one that Santa brought me because I had a good GPA this past semester. Expect the first PS4 video soon. And I'm extremely grateful to have a PS4. I'm sorry, but it wasn't marketed well this year. Heck, they won't even let you feel the controller in your hand at Walmart. At least the Xbox One lets you do that. I just miss the days when game demos were available to play in stores. Exclusives, bundles, and name recognition can only take you so far. The PlayStation 4 earns the Chump Chop for Worst Marketed Console of 2014. I truly am sorry. I love PlayStation. I have every home console Sony put out, but this year, they just didn't market the thing to compete that well during the holiday season. The year overall. Now, the best of 2014 was rather difficult. Nothing particularly stood out except for the games. There wasn't really anything good. However, it comes down to 2 different recipients. Gabe Newell for allowing hatred back on Steam because video games deserve the same First Amendment rights as other forms of media and other games that are equally violent on Steam. And Bayonetta 2, a game that came out when people realized that Gamergate was stupid and that women can have great roles in video games. I really wanted to give it to Bayonetta 2 and Platinum Games for making a strong female protagonist that don't need no man, thus ending Gamergate, but I don't have any solid evidence that it was Bayonetta 2 that actually ended it. It came out around the same time, but there's no solid link. So Gabe Newell gets the Choice Chop for Best of 2014. Because he kept a violent game that made people sick from the trailer alone on Steam Greenlight due to legal rights. Oh, and you'd better believe I'm gonna critique hatred when that game comes out, because if I like The Darkness 2, I might like this game. In my original script, I had a self-righteous 4-paragraph speech about Gamergate, and how both the gaming trolls who spread their toxic words around, giving ammunition to the journalists who were claiming gaming was dead because of everything they said, and those journalists who would call gaming dead to try to keep their work from becoming transparent, would both have to share the award. But something happened around Christmas that I cannot simply ignore. I only give you their names to tell you who wins the Chump Chop for Worst of 2014. Please do not give Lizard Squad any traffic. They claim all of this was done to tell Microsoft and Sony that they need better security. But considering their demands on Twitter included retweets and followers, it's obvious that this was only for attention. Please, don't give them any more of that attention. Seriously.
Well, that was fun. Remember, if you want an award, you can print that out in the description below. I'll have links so you can get your certificates printed out. And you can hang it up in your fridge, you can frame it and hang it on your wall, or you could fold it into a fancy paper hat. I'll see you all next week.